Sunday, everybody. Hope y'all are having a great day. I know we're coming into warmer seasons too, it just now being the first week of May. Good 75-degree day here. Today I have a really cool video I wanted to make and point out to you guys. This is my Echo CS-600P chainsaw. For those of you who don't know much about the 600P, this is the predecessor of the 620P. This is a later version 600. You can see I still have the original bar on it. This saw is a 2012 model. I did purchase it off of eBay about 3 years ago. I bought it for $400. That's a 24-inch bar, by the way. I bought it for $400. The way you see it now is the way it looked then. And I bought it in 2020. It had the black bar on it. You know, when these saws was new, that's before they switched over to the silver bars with where Echo says where it says Echo in black. Also, your recoil label where it says Echo here is silver on the new ones. It says it in silver, like a silver metallic color. This one's actually white on this saw. This is a very good saw. People ask, what is different about the 600 versus the 620? Well, guys, to be real honest with you, you don't see many 600s. Not that they're not a bad saw. They're just as good of a saw as the 590 and the 620P. The 600 is basically just trying to think of the best way to say it. It's basically just a toned up 590. This 600, there's two different style 600Ps. We'll get into that here in a minute, on into the video. This is the later 600. This is very equivalent to the 590. The piston and cylinder and the carburetor is the same in this as the 590. The 620P has a bigger cylinder and it has a different carburetor and coil as well, compared to the 600. The 600 also has, not real sure if you can see it from here, the 600 also has an aluminum handle. It comes factory with these captive bar nuts like you see on like the Steels and the 620P. The clutch cover is still plastic. I mean, you can see it looks very similar to the rest of them. They discontinued the 600 in, I think, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. There was a year, I'm pretty sure, a couple months, to where they had the 600P and the 620P still in production together for a little bit. I guess just a little bit of time, you know, you got the old model and the new model, you know, and then you're going to swap over eventually to the 620 as the successor saw. The 600 is a good saw. You can pick up one of these from anywhere to, I'd say, about $250 to $400. Realistically, I mean, it's the same as the 590, just with different handle. I do have the earlier version 600 that we're going to get into in a minute. Honestly, guys, this saw is my baby. It doesn't get used much. I think we all have one saw that we're very attached to and don't want to see nothing happen to. Well, guess what, guys? This is one of mine. So I think the whole time I've had this saw, in the 3 years, I've only used it about probably 6 times. I don't use it much. Not that I don't like to use it. It's so good of a saw to use. I mean, you can see how clean it is. I mean, that's why I haven't done anything to it. I mean, just look at it. I mean, this is way too nice of a saw in my eyes to use and tear up. Now, for granted, I'd use it if I had to. But, you know, I mean, this saw's always had a good place in my heart. I've really enjoyed the 600. And, you know, I mean, here's my thinking too. You know, this is a nice saw that is really discontinued. the 600P. The 600P was introduced in, I think, 2010 or somewhere in about middle of 2009 when they was when Echo was switching over to, you know, well, how's the best way to explain this? Echo and Shindawa merged together in 2009, and that's when Echo went back to making the saws orange, because currently in about the mid 2000s they was still gray, like my Echo CS-600P. I mean, everybody I think has mostly seen them around. You know, they was gray, orange handbrake. The recoil label looked different. It had them like pinstripes on it. You know, and they still had the black bars then. They just, you know, they just look different. You know, those are pure, as I say, purebred Echoes, meaning that that's all Echo's technology. You know, that was when they were still with Curats. Now this and these others we're going to get to here in a minute is more of a little bit of Echo, but also Shindawa technology in it. So, you know, the whole point with them two merging together with this family of saws is, you know, they really wanted these to take off. Shindawa's had a good reputation, so has Echo. I mean, that's just it, you know. I mean, they're two very successful corporations that have merged together. But, you know, they come out with these, they really wanted these saws to take off. You know, they wanted something, you know, Echo was kind of in that phase then, and so was Shindawa as well. I wouldn't say that, you know, they wanted to be, you know, because Steel was selling a lot of MS-290s back then. You know, they were starting to sell a lot of saws. You know, the Echo sales weren't as good as Steel's were, and so with Husqvarna's, you know, they still had the 55 Rancher out then, and then somewhere in between there they swapped to the 455, and you know, that family of saws that is similar competing to this one. Obviously the 460 is more equivalent to this one. Steel says the 290 is. I mean, I would say more for the 600 probably the 361 and the 360, somewhere in between there they switched over. I think the 361 was new when this saw was new in 2012. But, you know, Echo really wanted to be successful and, you know, and do something different. You know, they was wanting to be up there with the big dogs. You know, it's kind of like with the truck market and with the pickup trucks, you know. They wanted to be the top three, which, I mean, everybody knows the top three in the U.S. is Chevy, General Motors, Ford, and Dodge. You know, that's what they wanted to be in the chainsaw world. But I mean, overall, I'm gonna start this saw up here in a second. And this saw is bone stock, guys. I have done nothing to it. Aesthetic wise, I've never tuned the carburetor on. All I've done to this saw is just add that felon stripe, and I changed the chain out to a Oregon EXL style chain. But other than that, this saw is bone stock. I mean, the way you see it is now is about the way it was when I bought it 3 years ago. Yeah, that's just it. Normally a saw don't do this, would normally do that. The only reason it was just, you know, a little hesitant at first, you know, this saw don't get used very much. And it's been probably, I'd say 2 or 3 months since it's been started up. So, you know, it's just cold. You know, these Echoes are real cold nature. But yeah, come with me, and I'm gonna point something out there that some of you may not know, but I feel is good to know in research that I've looked into. All right, everybody. So here we have 3 saws. We have an early version 600P, the 600P, which is basically the same as the 590, the later version, basically the 2nd gen, and I have a 620P here as well. What I was talking about earlier, and I do want to point out there to everyone, I feel like this is good, helpful information to help some of you guys that might run into a scenario later on. So this is the earlier version 600P. Now, for granted, I did put the handlebar on. That's a 620P handlebar. Other than that, I mean, the saw is basically stock. I have done a muffler mod to it and then changed the spikes out on it as well. Other than that, it's basically stock, and added the bottom plate, which I put on all my saws. But if you look at this 600, this is an earlier version. And then this one here, which is the later version, the same as the 590. And I run into this when I needed parts for these at my Echo dealer. That one has a different tint than this one in the 620. This is the earlier version, what I was talking about. This here is a recoil guide, where see, them two don't have it. That little plastic piece that sits there. Also, no translucent tank. See how you can see the gas wobble around? No translucent tank. Also, that's a Curit's saw, where those are made by Yumbico, I guess you pronounce it as. But yeah, this is what I was talking about by these are the earlier serial model ones. This saw did come stock with, and just to point that out there, it would have the same handle as the 590 would. It's just a plastic handle. Nothing really spectacular and special about it. I just put this one on it. I had got a wrap handle for one of my other 620s, which you'll see later on in my channel. But I mean, look at the tint of this one, guys. Look at the orange of it. I know it's kind of hard to see in video, but it actually looks much brighter in person. I mean, picture like, you know, like one of the Echoes from the late 80s and early 90s. That's how bright it is in person, guys. I mean, just look at that. I know you can kind of see a little bit of a difference. Another thing too is that I did want to point out there, the grip feels different on this one than the 620P. And also too, you see how, like, that one's got a 620P handle on it. That one's got the factory 600 handle. See how it comes all the way down to where it bends? And then that one stops up right there before it bends down. But yeah, this is something I wanted to point out there to everybody. I mean, that's why, you know, people say, you know, the 590 started it all for these. Honestly, I got to looking back, they made this saw first, this 600P, this earlier version. Because this is one of them, I think, that they had just merged into, like I was talking about. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I mean, we're all human. I mean, we're not perfect. But I still think that this one is the ones that led up to these other two. And my reasoning behind that is because that's a Curit's saw. And also, too, I did want to point this out there to you guys for finding parts. The carburetor, now I don't have the factory carburetor currently on this saw, You know, these two both take 268s, and I think that one's a 315 Walbro. Another thing I want to point out too is that cylinder in that saw is a little bit different than in this 600. That one is specifically for the saw. So if you try and find parts at your Echo dealer that I run into the other week, they wanted to know what serial number was it. I ended up purchasing a new one of these. See, if I wanted to see one, could they still get it, and they actually were able to. They called it a guide rope holder. See, because these other two don't have it. See, it don't have that. And eventually, you know, they moved on later on to it. And I thought it was very, I wouldn't say bad, but just unique. That, because I'd never seen a saw have something like that before. But honestly, I like the temp better of this 600 than these other, well, 2 or 3. There's my 680 as well. But another thing too that I wanted to point out here is, you know, see your VIN plate here? It'll tell you, know, your engine displacement, which is 59.8. Then it says Curious Corporation. And then that date stands for a month, which is F for February, and then 09. Now, I don't know how accurate one of those is. That's what the guy told me at the shop, at the Echo dealer shop that I deal with, on finding parts for these. He told me that he thought it was made in 2009. But if you look at these two here, that says Yumbico, and then there it tells you the month and date, and then it tells you the displacement and all the other stuff that's like on this one. It's just a little bit different style. And it tells it too on this one too. This one was made in March of 17. This is my 620P. So it's something unique that I did want to point out there, you know. And a lot of people, you know, you can explain it, but it just don't make sense until you got all of them beside each other. You know, I just thought it was unique and wanted to make a video and show that there is 2 different style 600Ps. The older version, to make it easier, would have a brighter tint, more of a orangey tint, like the older style Echoes. That there. And also look for Curates here and on the front of the crankcase. And the older style 600P, where it tells you, know, use, go by the operator's manual and all that. Or see, these two don't. And that one also had a plastic handle, where these two both have the soft grip aluminum handle. And the 602 also had a brighter clutch cover. That's really one off of a 590. I ended up purchasing the one that come with this saw. Was currently cracked right there where it says Echo. But other than that, I mean, there really isn't that much aesthetic-wise difference between them two, other than, you know, just the way they put the warning labels and all on the saw. Like, I mean, you can tell too, this one's smaller than this one. This one, they changed it, so, you know, you don't have the 2 avoid kickback ones there. So, you know, they just changed it up and all. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Of seeing the first gen 600P, second gen 600P, and the 620 as well, and also the 680, which is basically in the background. I didn't really have much to show on it, other than, you know, they did, I'm sure some of you probably know as well, you know, on the older 670s and all that, you know, they had the Curates Corporation VIN and all that, like on the 600. But other than that, guys, I mean, I thought it was cool to point out there. This 600 is normally my go-to saw for everything. I call it my beat-around saw. Normally, if I need to cut up a little something that comes down the yard, or a little small project, I mean, I do take it with me on regular cutting as well. But other than that, it's normally my go-to grabber or one of them 620s. But other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Like, share, and subscribe. I did hope this video helped. I did want to put some info, but also, you know, I wanted to show a comparison too, just to make it fair to everyone. And, you know, and you don't know till you see it. So, but I do hope this video helps about the two different style 600Ps, and also having a 620P beside of it as well. You can see some features on it that's a little bit different as well too. But like I say, work hard, be smart, stay safe, and help your peers. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.